I'm going to double click on the Power BI desktop on my actual desktop here. And let's start that program. Some of you have it on the desktop, some of you have it on your taskbar or the start menu. Either way is fine. Okay, good. Okay, good. So when you get this initial screen, I can open up a Power BI report over here that I made previously. There's some videos here that you can watch. They have a Power BI forum, a Power BI blog, tutorials. So you can get some good help from that window. Now, everybody, if you watch my screen, notice over here, I'm logged on with my Microsoft account. You don't have to be logged on until we start publishing it and doing some different things. So, if you can't log on with your Microsoft account, although it's not necessary. Now, I'm going to close this window with the X, and now we'll see this window, which is the Power BI interface. So if I double click on my student file, I want to show you some of the data that we'll be using today. It's going to open up in the Excel workbook, as you can see. Now, this workbook has a lot of sheets. So if you come down here, I want you to right-click on this arrow that's pointing to the right. Right-click, and then you see a list of all the sheets. They're not in alphabetical order. They're in the order they appear in the workbook. So let's pick on a sheet that's called Customer List, and then click on OK. We're going to use this data today. Now, this one is not a formatted table in the Excel workbook. However, it has the field names up top, so I'll still be able to use this in the Power BI, even though it's not a formatted table. Let's go to the next sheet, which is called Order List. And that one is also not a formatted table. So I'll show you what to do with those, but we can pull those into Power BI. Now, let's take a look at another sheet. Right-click on this arrow again. Right-click. Now scroll down towards the bottom and pick a sheet that's called Suppliers. From the Suppliers to the Categories sheet, these are all formatted tables, and we'll use those a little bit later on. So if I pick on Suppliers, I'll click on OK. See how these are formatted tables. So the Power BI can either deal with the data from Excel if it's a formatted table or if it's not. And then the rest of these, the sheets after that, they're all formatted tables, okay? So I just at least wanted to show you what the data looks like in Excel. We can put that Excel workbook away for right now. Let's go ahead and close that workbook. We'll come back to it later on. Okay, good. I'm going to close this window as well. Okay, so now I'll pick on the Get Data menu, and then pick on the word More. And then it'll open up that window, as you can see. So let's try Excel. Now, of course, we're going to use the Excel data that I sent to you, but I'll show you different data sources today as well. So I'll pick on Excel, and I'll pick on Connect. Okay, so mine is going to be on my desktop. Yours is going to be in the download folder. So once again, let's go ahead and pick on that student file, the one that we just looked at. And I'll pick on Open. So when we're starting to import the data like this is part of actual usually Power Query. So Power Query is really two different parts, being able to import the data and also being able to manipulate the data. That kind of falls under the Power Query window. And that'll be explained as we go forward. These are the sheets of the Excel workbook. So let's try those ones that were not the formatted table first. So scroll down. And then go ahead and pick on the customer list. And we can start to see the data, right? Well, notice how it has field names like column 1 and column 2 and column 3. I mean, you could work with those, but they're really hard to work with. So remember how this was the one that was not the formatted table. So we have to do an extra step here. Now, I want to go ahead and check the checkbox next to customer list. And now come down here and pick on the word, excuse me, pick on the word transform data right there, transform data. Then that'll bring you directly into the Power Query window. So I know some of this might be review for some of you, but it's really important that we set a good foundation here. So it never hurts to review, but if you don't know this stuff, you really need to know it, what I'm showing you right now. You have to pull the data in the proper way into the Power BI before you can do anything. So notice how we're in a window that's called Power Query. We're going to do quite a bit with the Power Query today. But see how it says column 1 and column 2, and then the first row says the actual field names? Well, come over here and click where it says use first row as headers. Click that, please. And then it has the much better field names, okay? We'll do more with the Power Query as we go through today, trust me. But let's come over here to the left and pick on close and apply, which means it's going to pull it into the Power BI. So now some of the windows will make more sense now. All right, so that should be coming in. Good. Now watch my mouse, everybody. Come over here and click on the second tab, which says data. And now we'll see the data for the customer file, as you can see. And then also notice on the right-hand side, now you have your fields. So that makes more sense, right? When you have more than one table, they'll be listed over here. So now the fields make more sense. The data makes more sense now. This is the raw data. Now the relationships doesn't quite make sense yet, but go ahead and pick on this word model over here. Pick on that icon that says model. And if you're used to making relationships in Access or SQL Server or something like that, then you might be familiar with this kind of window. Right now it doesn't make any sense because it's only one table. Okay, so let's try to pull in the other one that was not the formatted table. So once again, even on the home menu, you can see Excel is right there. So I'll pick on Excel, or we could always use the other way, but Excel is right there. Let's go back to the student file again. So mine's on my desktop. Yours is probably in the download folder. I'll pick on the student file, and I'll pick on open. These are the sheets of that Excel workbook. So let's scroll down. Find one that's called order list. Check on order list, please. Remember how that one was one that was not a formatted table, and then it has those weird field names, right? I mean, you could work with those, but they're really cumbersome to work with. So come down here, pick on transform data again. Yes. Okay, Cassandra, I'll go back for you. Let me close that one out. Okay, so do you have the customer list so far? You have the customer list. Okay, so let's try this again. I'm going to pick on the home menu, and I'll pick on the word Excel right there. And once again, we're going to point to the student file. So yours is in the download folder, I bet. Mine's over here in the desktop folder. I'll pick on the student file, and I'll pick on open. Then we should be seeing all of the sheets within that Excel workbook. Let's scroll down about maybe 2/3 of the way down, and I'm going to check the one that's called order list. Okay, order list, we see the data. Now it has those funny field names that I don't really recommend. So for this one, come down here and pick on the word transform data at the bottom. When we pick on transform data, that's what brings us into the Power Query. At least that's one way to get there. Then we should be looking at this kind of screen. Come over here and click where it says use first row as headers, right there. Now we should have the much better field names. Once again, come over here to the left and pick on close and apply. And now that should pull the orders into the Power BI. So come over here to the right side of the window, everybody, right click on the customer list, and then I'll pick on the word edit query. And that'll bring us into the screen that's called the Power Query. So within the Power Query, we can manipulate the data in many ways. Let me show you an example. Go ahead and click on this column that's called Contact Name. Now, anything that we do in the Power Query, that's the way the data is going to look in the Power BI. So let's say in the contact name, we have the first name and the last name. I want to split those, right? Well, in normal Excel, this will be called text to columns. But here, it's just called split columns. So pick on contact name and pick on split column up at the top here. And usually it's going to be by a delimiter, which is by a separator. So, and this time it's going to be a space. It probably will see the space there. So I'll pick on by delimiter. In my case, it does say space there. Go ahead and click on OK. And notice how it easily separates that between the first name and the last name. So, today we'll do lots of examples of using the Power Query to manipulate the data. It was just kind of a good place to start. I would like to rename those fields. So right-click where it says Contact Name 1, right-click, and pick on the word Rename. And I'll call that one First Name. And then right-click where it says Contact Name 2, right-click, and then rename that one. And of course, we'll call that one Last Name. So I have the first name and the last name. I was able to split that column. So then maybe some other department wants it so that the fields are back together again. So go ahead and click on the word First Name, and then hold down your Shift key, and then pick on the word Last Name so that they're both selected. And then you can lift your fingers for a second. Now, to put those together in Excel, you need a formula that's called concatenate. Well, here it's just called merge columns. So watch my screen. I want to make a new column from those two columns. So come up here and pick on the word add column. And then come over here and pick on the word merge columns. We're going to merge those back together again and make a new field. So I'll say merge columns. Now, if you can imagine, I want to put the space back in. So click on the pull down where it says separator, and we'll use the space. And then we'll call the new column, see where it says merge, we'll call it contact name again. And then click on OK. Now, if you scroll to the right, you should have a new column that's called contact name. So we were able to split the column. Here we're able to merge the columns back together again. Just getting used to how to start using the Power Query. Now, if you go through these different menus of the Power Query, there's a lot of choices. We're not going to have time to go over everything today, but we'll do some of those. But what I'm not seeing, yeah, I'll do that one more time for you, Esparce, no problem. What I'm not seeing is, I'm not seeing the word undo anywhere. So let me show you how you actually undo it. In fact, I'm going to undo it so that we can do it again. I'm going to come over here to the right with these applied steps. In fact, I'll even do it. I'm going to right-click where it says split column by delimiter. I can delete that one step, or I'm going to say delete it until the end. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Cassandra. Some of the names had like a middle name, so every time it found a space, it made another column. So, we'd have to deal with that in real life. Here in the class, I acknowledge that, but it's just that there were some names that had like, a junior or something that had a second space there. So look, I'm going to right-click where it says split column by delimiter, and I'll delete it until the end. And that's, then I'll say the word delete. And then actually put it back together again, right? So Esparce, watch again. I'm going to right-click where it says contact name. I'm sorry, just click where it says contact name. And then up on the home menu, pick where it says split column. We're going to split it by a delimiter. Good. And then in this case, it found the space. So just go ahead and click on OK. And that should have split those. Here's what Cassandra was saying. Notice how we have contact name 1, 2, and 3. And only a couple of them, like this person had Jose, Pedro, Freire, you know. And then there was, I think there was one more. Yeah, Miguel, Angel, Paulino. Okay, so they had 3 names. So, you know, you'd have to deal with that. But we have, maybe I would just manually change this. So then let's put those back together again. Of course, we can rename them, but here's how to put them back together again. Hold down your Shift key and pick on contact name 1 and contact name 2. Now they're both selected. We're going to add a new column. So pick on Add Column at the top, and then pick on the word Merge Columns right over here. Now, when you put them back together again, we need a space there. So I'll pick on the separator, and I'll pick on space, and let's call the new column contact name. And then click on OK. And now if you scroll to the right, you should have a new column that's called contact name to put them back together again. So did you get it that time, S-Bars? Is that working for you, S-Bars? You got it. You're welcome. All right, very good. And then you saw how we were even able to undo that over here with those applied steps. So once you're done with the Power Query, of course, you want to save that. So come up here, pick on the Home menu, and then pick on Close and Apply again. And now that's the way it'll appear in the Power BI. Come over here to the right, and then right-click where it says Order List. Right-click on Order List, and I'll pick on Edit Query there. And now that'll bring you back into the Power Query window. Here's one that I really like. See how we have the order date? Well, maybe it's a birth date, or maybe it's a delivery date or something like that. I want to figure out the age. Well, to do the age calculation in normal Excel, it's a big formula. Here, it's built right in. So go ahead and click on the order date column. So I want to make a new column from that column. So come up here, pick on Add a Column, and then it knows that that's a date. So come over here and pick on the word date. So I can isolate the year, or notice how I can get the start of the year or the end of the year from that date, the start of the month or the end of the month, how many days are in that month, the name of the month. The quarter has some information, even the week and the day. So I can really isolate any part of that date. But notice how the age is built right in. So pick on the word age. Now it'll have a new column over here that's called age. It actually shows you the number of days. Sometimes you want the number of days, but this time I want the number of years. So watch what I'm doing. Go ahead and right-click where it says age right there. Right-click. We're going to change that column. So pick on Transform, and I'm going to put it in total years. Okay? Total years. It says 22.32 and so on. Then I like to round that down. So I'm going to right-click on the age column again. Right-click. We're going to transform it again. Pick on the word round, and we'll round it down. So I really like how that age is built right in. We'll do another example of that later on today. But that was relatively easy. You know, I didn't have to do a real formula. It was just kind of built right in. So now let's see how we can get a calculated field here in the Power Query. Come up here and pick on Add Column. Now come over here and pick on the word Custom Column. It means you want to make up your own field. So I'll pick on Custom Column. And now we should be on this kind of window. So let's say I want to add the freight plus the order amount. So for the new column name, let's call it a new total. Just type in new total, please. Okay. Come over here to the right, scroll down, and double click on the word freight. Double click, and that'll put that into the formula. Type in the plus sign. Now scroll down on these fields towards the bottom, or here it is. Double click on order amount. And now that put that in the formula. It's going to say equals freight plus order amount. Of course, it could be a much bigger formula. It's just an example here, right? But basically, you're using your field names to build your formula. Go ahead and click on OK. And now you have a new column that's called new total. Watch again how you make a formula here in the Power Query. So we're going to pick on Add Column up at the top. And then you pick on Custom Column, which basically means your own formula. On this window, let's type in the word days for the field name. All right, days. Come over here and double click on the word shipped date. Laura, the answer is yes, and I'll show you that in just a second. So yes, you can use functions. So double click on ship date and then type in the minus sign and double click on order date. So it says ship date minus the order date. Just like in Excel, when you subtract one date from another date, it's going to give you the difference in days. So you can use your field names in the formula. Of course, it could be much bigger. Now, here's the answer to Laura's question. There's actually many, many functions that are built right in. So come down here and click where it says Learn About Power Query Formulas. Click that, please. It's actually going to bring you to the Microsoft website, the help screen. It says Add a custom column in the Power BI desktop. So now we're on the Microsoft website. And then look, here's the answer to your question, Laura. A comprehensive function list. Okay, that sounds good to me. Let's click where it says Comprehensive Function List. These are just the categories of the function. So already there's more categories than Excel has. And then pick on date functions, for example, and there's more date functions than Excel has. So we just open up a whole new window where you can go a lot further with the Power Query formulas. Some of these are just not even available in Excel. You know, look at them all. So that should help you find out lots of great functions. Once again, I'm going to minimize the internet window, go back into the Power Query. When I was building this formula, I clicked where it says Learn About Power Query Formulas, and that brought us up to the Microsoft help screen, and then we saw a list of all the functions. So Laura, did you get that? Did you see where we did that, Laura? Yes, you're welcome. And you know, you can go a lot further with that. But here I have the ship date minus the order date, and I'm going to click on OK. And then we have a new column that's called days. And then you almost kind of get used to this. You see how I like to reformat that. So I'm going to right click where it says days. And then you get used to the word transform. And we'll just put it into normal days there. And then there we have that. Okay. So just those are some more examples of the Power Query. Once you're done with this, you're going to save it. So I'll click on the Home menu, and I'll click on Close and Apply. And then that's the way it'll appear in the Power BI. See, in the Power BI part, come over here and pick on the Data tab. I can see the raw data, but I can't do anything with it here. I have to go into the Power Query. Even here, when I right-clicked in that field, I was able to click on Edit Query there. We'll always move the columns to the end of the data set. The answer, Cassandra, is yes. When you add a new column, it'll move it to the end. However, if you go back into the Power Query, then you can move the columns back and forth by dragging them. But when you first add a column, it's always going to put it at the end. Okay, so the answer to your question is yes.
I have a question here.
Yes.
I see some of the fields are blank. Is there any way we can replace it with NA in the Power Query?
Oh, yes, I see what you're saying. So let's go back into the Power Query, everybody. So that was on the order list. So I'm going to right click on the order list over here on the right click, and then pick on edit query. So I'm going to scroll over all the way to the right. If you'll notice, I have column 16 and column 17. Now I could delete those columns, but the question is, can we replace those? Let's see. So I'm going to pick on column 16. Now, notice up here, if I want to change a column, I have something that's called transform. So I'm going to pick on column 16, for example, and I'll pick on transform. Oh, okay, it does say replace over here. So let's pick on replace values, and I'll pick on the word replace values again. And then you'll get a different window. So let's try to do this. Type in the word null, and then we'll replace it with, like he said, NA. Like I'll do N/A. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to give it a shot right now. So value defined is null, replaced with NA. I'm going to click on OK. It did work. All right, so if I pick on column 17, notice you pick on transform, right? We want to change that column, and then I say replace values. Do you see that, Asparis? Can you select more than one? Absolutely. So let's do them all. How to column 17, hold down your shift key, and then scroll over. There's a column that's called 7-1. If you pick on 7-1 2019, now all of those are selected. Let's do them all at the same time. So I'll pick on replace values again on the transform menu. Type in the word null, and then I'll say N and A. And then click on OK. It doesn't like that for some reason, so maybe we can only do one at a time. Let's see what the message says. Oh, I see. That other column is a date. I see what happened. So I just put on cancel there. It's that last column that's getting in the way. So let me unselect that last column. That last column is dates. I see what they're saying. Right, okay. So I'm going to right click on column 20. I'm going to pick on replace values. I'll type in null, and then N/A. I see that other one was a date. And then when I click on OK, then it replaced the data. Did I misspell the word null? N-U-L-L N/A. Click on OK. Now it changed it. Okay, good. So you can see how case sensitive. Thank you, Pat. I got you on that one, right? So now it did change. Now let's say I don't really want that column that's called 7-1. It seems to be in the way. So I want to right click on the 7-1 column and just remove that column, right? So when I want to change things, a lot of times I can do it here in the Power Query. And then of course, when you're done with it, pick on the Home menu and pick on Close and Apply. And now that's the way the Excel spreadsheet will appear. I mean, the Excel spreadsheet. Power BI is going to look at that point. Now, everybody, let's save the Power BI report because we're about to take our first break. So just pick on Normal Save up here. And we're going to call this one Class 1. And it is going to make a PBIX file, which is a Power BI file. So we'll call it Class 1. And I already have a Class 1 from the last time that I taught the class. I'll pick on Yes there to replace it. And now if you do look in the title bar of the Power BI, you'll see Class 1 is up there. Now, everybody, I think we're done with Class 1 at this time. So why don't we go ahead and save that, save Class 1. I want to make a whole new report for the rest of the class. So let's pick on File. And then let's pick on New. And when I do File New, it'll actually go back into the initial screen that we saw at the beginning. So let that come up again. and then we're going to pull the data in for the rest of the course in just a second. Okay, so notice how I'm back into this window. Go ahead and close that window, and now notice how I'm on a blank report, which is what I want to do. I did show you all the different data sources, and of course there's many more beyond that. Now let's go back to the Excel spreadsheet again, everybody, and this time we're going to pull in the data that is the formatted tables. So follow my window. You can see I'm on the blank report. On the home menu, we could just pick directly on Excel right now. Pick on Excel. Now I want you to really listen to me and follow these steps exactly. Pick on Excel. Go back to your student file, please. Mine's on my desktop. Yours is in your download folder. So I'll pick on the student file. And I'll pick on Open. Okay. Now, you're able to pick more than one of these. So we're just going to pick these top ones right up here. Pick on Category 7. I want you to check all of these. Category 7, Customer 6, Employees 5, New Shippers, Order Details, Orders 4. If you have one that's called the Power Map Table, I don't need that one. But let's get Products 3, Shippers 2, and Suppliers 1. So I have all these checked. Category 7, Customer 6, Employees 5, New Shippers, Order Details, Orders 4, Products 3, Shippers 2, and Suppliers 1. Now those are all formatted tables. Remember how I showed you those at the beginning of the class? So those already have the good field names, as you can see. So for those, we're going to pull them directly into the Power BI. So pick on the word load right there. Now this will take a second or two because see how it's pulling in a bunch of tables all at the same time. All right, so give it a second. And now if you look over on the right side of the screen, you should be able to pick on Category 7. Actually, come over here to the left and pick on the Data tab, the second icon. And now you can just go through the different ones, and all of those tables should be part of our report now. Oh, look at my screen again. If I want to collapse the customers table, I'll just click on the word customers again. See how I put that away now. So, I try to clean it up when I can over on the right. Let's go ahead and save this one now. So I'll just pick on Normal Save. And I'll call this one Class 2. And then I already have a Class 2 from the last time that I taught the class, so I'll just overwrite that one with yes. Let's do some more things with our Power Query now. So now we'll get into manipulating the data. I want to be on the Data tab on the left-hand side. Data on the left. Let me see which ones I want to do something with. Categories looks pretty good. Nothing I can really do there. Let's pick on Customer 6. Oh, we already managed the customer. It is the same customers table that we managed before, so I don't need to do anything there. That's where we split that contact name column. Oh, let's go to that employees table. Yeah. With the employees table, I see the birth date. So why don't we try that age? I just think it's one that we use all the time. So let's do the age again for the employees. You almost kind of get used to it now, right? Go ahead and right-click on the employees table, and then I'll pick on Edit Query. And that'll bring us back into the Power Query window, as you can see. I want you to click on the word birth date there. Now, see how the text fields have the ABC there, and a date is going to have the calendar there. So notice that that's a date. And the numbers would have something different. The numbers, I think, have that sum from from Excel. Yeah, a number is going to have the 1, 2, 3. Okay. But let's go back. Let's click on the birthday column. I want to make a new column from there. So you pick on the word Add Column. And then notice how it knows it's a date. So pick on the word Date. And then pick on the word Age right there. And then it makes a new column that's called age, right? Right now, it's the number of days. Well, I would like to change that to the number of years. Go ahead and right-click where it says age. And then you think of changing that column. So you think of the word transform. Put it into total years. Now, see how, okay, we have the age, but I would like to round that down. Nobody says they're 72.0124. So I'm going to right-click on age again. Again, think about changing that column. So I'll pick on transform. And we're going to round it. I'm going to round it down. So in Excel, I have to have this kind of complicated formula to make an age. Here, I kind of like the way the age is built right in. So that's what I want to do to the employees table. Let's go back and save that one. All right, so I'll pick on home and I'll pick on close and apply. That was an excellent example of that age. Let me see what else we're going to do over here. Oh, let's pick on the order details table. On the orders details table, I have the unit price and the quantity. Well, I would like to make a new field from there. I want to make a new calculation. So we'll go and do it in the Power Query. So I'm going to right-click on Order Details and pick on Edit Query. And now you're back into the Power Query window. So watch again how we're going to add a new column. Well, it says add a column up there. That would be step one, add a column. And then you say custom column. And then you have this other window. Let's call it line total. The name of the field will be called line total. Double click on unit price over here, and that'll put that into the formula. Now your math is the same as Excel, which is going to be an asterisk for multiplication, and double click on quantity. So it says unit price times the quantity. Of course, it could be a much bigger formula. And then remember, you click over here, it'll bring it to the web page from, then it gives you a lot of different functions in there as well. But it's just an example, right? Unit price times the quantity, click on OK. And now we have the line total. So let's go ahead and save that one. I'll pick on home and then close and load. And we're fine. And now it's back into, it showed up in the table over here. Good. Let's see if there's something else I want to do in these tables. Oh, the products table has a good example. Pick on products, please. Notice on the products table, I have the units in stock and the reorder level and whether it's discontinued or not. So I want to see if a product needs to be reordered. Let's make another new column. So I want to go ahead and go back into the Power Query with the products table. Right-click on Products 3 and pick on Edit Query. Good. So now we should be in the Power Query window for the products table. Let me show you a new way to add a column, everybody. This is going to be called a conditional column. It's a pretty interesting way to make an if. So up here, I'll pick on Add a Column. Then look what it says. Conditional column. It's going to be a new way to make an if. And now you should have this kind of window. So for the column name, let's call it reorder. And then follow me. Let's say if, and then click on that pull down. If the unit is in stock, come over here and we'll say is greater than or equal to. Now I'll pick on this ABC123 because I can compare it either to a value or a column. So let's say select a column. And what I want to compare that to is going to be the reorder level. All right, so it should say if units in stock is greater than or equal to the reorder level, then it does not have to be reordered. So come over here and then type in no. We do want to add a clause here, almost like a nested if. So pick on Add a Clause. Now, if it's discontinued, if discontinued equals, come over here and type in the word true. If it's discontinued, then I don't need to reorder it. So come over here and type in no. Otherwise, come down here and type in yes. So let's see if the logic is sound. If the units in stock is greater than the reorder level, then I have enough, so I don't need to reorder it. So that's correct that it says no there. If the discontinued equals true, that means it is discontinued. I don't have to reorder that, so then no there. Otherwise, if it gets down here, then I need to reorder that, so I'll say yes. Looks like that's the logic I want. Anyway, that's an interesting way to make an if, or a nested if, what was called a conditional column. Go ahead and click on OK. Now I have a new column that's called reorder. The second one says yes. Let's see if it's right. I have 17 in stock. 25 is the reorder level. It's not discontinued, so it needs to be reordered. Okay, that was kind of an interesting one. That was called a conditional column. Just things that we can do with the Power Query is all I'm showing you, right? Let's go back and save that. So I'll pick on Home and then Close and Load. And then I kind of start putting these tables away, just so it's not so messy over there. Why don't we save? We haven't saved in a while. Pick on Save, please. Good. Now, everybody, come over here to the left. That was called the Data tab. Go to the next one down. It'll say the word Model, or it's really going to be those three boxes. Click on that. Okay. Now, we'll see those tables. Now, watch my screen, everybody. I'm going to put the Properties window away for right now. And then come over here and click on the arrow for the fields and put that away as well. This will give us more room for this particular screen. And then actually, let me show you a trick that I'll do. I'm going to zoom in so I can see kind of the bigger picture. So I'm going to follow my mouse all the way to the bottom right. And I'm actually going to zoom out is what I meant to say. Good. But I have it down to like 51%. And now I can see all of the different tables. Notice how in most cases, it will try to make a guess. And usually when it guesses correctly. So let's see. If you click on one of those lines, it'll show you the joining tables and the joining field. So the employees table is joined to the orders table based on the employee ID. That's correct. The customers are joined to the orders by the customer ID. That's correct. Orders is joined to the orders table by the order ID. That's correct. So usually when it guesses the right thing. The order details and the products are joined by the product ID. Suppliers are joined to the products table by the supplier ID. Categories are joined to the products by the category ID. So it's looking for those common field names. And then if it finds common field names among the tables, and if one of those fields is like the primary key of that table, then it'll try to join those together. We don't need the new shippers. So I can kind of move that one to the side, because remember how we appended the new shippers into the shippers table. So I'm not worried about the new shippers. Notice how the shippers is over here by itself. The reason for it is the following. On the orders table, look, I'm going to scroll down on the orders table, and the field is called Ship Via. Over here, the field is called Shipper ID. So it wouldn't know that those two go together because they have different field names. So we can use the screen to make up our own relationships as well. Watch what I'll do. Go ahead and scroll down on the orders table so you can see the Ship Via field. Pick up Ship Via from the orders table and drag it to the shipper ID of the shippers table. Shippers. And now it'll redraw that line for you, as you can see. And now they must have changed this recently. I've been working with Access and SQL Server for a long, long time and other databases. And usually the lines would cross over the boxes. So now they added some new technology where, the lines don't cross over the boxes anymore. So, they kind of changed that to make it easier to work with. So you try to make sure that each table is joined to at least one other table. they're never going to be joined to each other. I mean, when there's more than two tables, it's just not going to happen where they're all joined to each other. It's impossible. But you want each table to be joined to at least one other table, so then I can make the reports from all those different tables. Again, I'm not concerned about the new shippers because remember how we appended the new shippers into the shippers table. Now, here's another thing you can do. You can right-click on that line. Now, we don't need to delete it, but if it gets the wrong thing or if you made the wrong one, you can delete it. Now, double-click on one of those lines. Double-click, and then we'll see a different view of the relationship. So here I have the orders table and the employees table, and we see the common field is employee ID. All right, so that's more of a visual type of a relationship. Now, if you know anything, is it fine if the line is at the top or the bottom? It doesn't matter. It's okay. As long as you have the same kind of lines as I have, it's okay. So if you know anything about relational databases, everybody, then these choices could make a difference for you. Come down here, click on the pull down, and it could be one to many or one to one or many to one. So that depends on if one of those fields is the primary key in one or both or neither of the tables. So in this case, many orders can go with that same employee. So orders is first and employees is second. So many employees could go with many orders can go with many employees. One-to-one means that field is the primary key on both sides. It can only link to exactly one record on the other side. And then one-to-many is kind of the reverse. So it actually depends on where you started to drag from. So if I had started from the employees table and dragged it to the orders table, it would probably say one-to-many there. But they must have added the orders table first and then gone to the employees table, so it's many to one. So those can make a difference for you. But usually the one that it gives you is the correct one. And then this one is like where it will become both is what we call an inner join. And single means is either a right outer join or a left outer join. Those can make a difference for you as well. So if you know about relational database, these can make a difference for you, although usually you could just take the one that it gives you. And these can make a difference for you as far as the number of records it's going to return. We'd always call this one an inner join. That means it's only going to show the records that has a match on both sides. And the single is either a left outer join or a right outer join, okay? So anyway, go ahead and click on OK. The way we got there is you could just double click on one of the lines and then that window comes up. Or another way you can get to that window is to right click on that line and then pick on the word properties and then that window comes up again. Let's say it guessed the wrong thing. So then you can delete the relationship. So I'm going to delete this one between the suppliers and the products. I'm going to click on that line, right click on that line, and then delete it. It'll ask you, are you sure? And I'll pick on delete there. And then you would make up your own relationship from there. So watch. I'm going to scroll down on the suppliers table until I can see the supplier ID. I'll pick up supplier ID from the suppliers table and drag it to the supplier ID of the products table. I'm always looking for that common field name. It doesn't have to have the same field name, like in this case with the shippers table, but it's always nice when we do have the same field name. Now, if I double click on that line, I bet it made that one a one-to-many because we started on the suppliers table. Oh, it still made it a many-to-one. So maybe it's in alphabetical order. I was expecting that to be a one-to-many, but it's still correct. Many products can go with one supplier. So that's fine. So I'll click on OK. But notice how I can zoom out and zoom in on this window, which makes it very useful. Now I can get the overall picture. All right. So let's go ahead and save. Pick on save the work up there, of course. Let's go back into the data model over here on the left. I'd like to show you one that's called a, let me see, it's called a group by query. And with that, you'll be able to do subtotals in your data. Let's give it a shot. we're going to import another data source. So let's pick on the home menu up top, home. And of course, we're just going to go from the Excel spreadsheet again. So pick on Excel. And again, we're going to go back to our student file one more time. So go back to the student file and pick on open. And now we're back on this window. Let's click on orders for again. Even though we used orders for before, we're going to use it again. So pick on orders for. Now come down here and pick on the word transform data, which brings us directly into the Power Query. Good. We're in the Power Query now. Now come over here to the right. You see where it says orders for version 2? I want to give that a better name. That's going to be the table name. So let's call it order totals. For the name over here on the right, I typed in order totals. Now look down here at the bottom left. It tells you how many records that we have, 830 individual orders. Come up here. Notice how each of the fields has a pull down. Just like Excel, that's where you would do a sort and filter. So I'm going to click on the pull down for the customer ID. And then I'll pick on sort ascending. And now we can see how there's multiple orders for each customer. What I would really like to do is I'd like to get a subtotal of the orders for each customer. So watch my screen. To do subtotals in the Power Query, we're going to use something that's called a group by. Pick on the word group by right there. And then you should have this new window. I do want to group by the customer ID. That means each customer will be summarized down to one record. Now we're going to make a new column. Let's call the new column name the new total. Click on the pull down where it says count rows, and then we can do different types of math. So I'll do a sum. And then click on the pull down where it says order ID. The column I really want to sum is order amount. Okay, so over here I have customer ID. Here I have new total. Here I have sum. And then here I have order amount. So what am I asking for? I'm saying for each different customer, sum up all their orders. Notice before I click on OK, I have 830 records. Go ahead and click on OK. Now I have 89 records. Let's go ahead and sort it by the customer ID again. Pick on the pull down for the customer ID and pick on sort. And now I have one record per customer, and that's the subtotal for each customer. That was pretty good. That was called a group by query. Did we get that one to work? It's kind of a powerful one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close and apply this. And now we'll have a new table in the Power BI. You like that one, right? And then notice how we have a new table over here that's called order totals. And that will be the totals of the orders. And let me show you these two visuals. One's called a table and one's called a matrix. These are similar to what you would see in a pivot table in Excel. They're just going to show you the data. So I'm on page 3. Let's pick on this first one. It's called a table. Okay. So this would be like a one-dimensional, almost like a one-dimensional pivot table. So let's see what I want to do. Let's do it by, let's get the shippers again. So scroll down and get the company name for the shippers and move it into the data fields right there. Good. Okay, so we see the 3 shippers. And then we would use, let's pick up the order amount from the orders table. Pick up order amount and drag it down below the company name into the values. And then we see the total for each shipper. So that's just a one-dimensional, it's almost like a one-dimensional pivot table, okay? It just has the name and the total for that, the total of all the orders for that shipper. Now I'd like to copy that one. So pick on that one, just do a normal copy and paste on the home menu. Copy, paste, and then we have a second copy of it if you look really closely. So pick up the second one and drag it over here. Good. Now let's make that one into what we call a matrix. Watch. Just pick on the second one, and then pick on this one. It's called the matrix. Now for this one, everybody, it'll be a two-dimensional pivot table. This will be more like a classic pivot table. Let's say I wanted to see the shippers broken down by country. So pick up ship country and drag it into the columns. And then we're going to stretch that one out. There you go. So now we have the shippers broken down by country. Look at the power that you have. I mean, that's why I was I really made sure that we had the data imported the right way and we had the relationships the right way. Once we have the data and the relationships, you can make your reports from all of your different tables. I mean, it's pretty amazing to me when you start to see the kind of thing that we can do. So this one was just called a table. In fact, let me resize that so it doesn't overlap the other one. That'll be good. And then this one was called the matrix, which is more of a two-dimensional pivot table. So let's leave it by shipper by country like that. I like that one. And then go ahead and save that. Good. So that was this one, and that was this one. Pick on the data, and then we can see I was on, I guess, the order totals. Okay. Let's go to pick on the, let's see, pick on the orders table. Now, this is the orders table that we did from the formatted table. So the calculations that we did at the beginning of the class are still in class 1, but now we're in class 2. So what if I wanted to take the ship date and subtract it from the required date, or from the order date? Watch my screen. Okay. Now, if I scroll over to the right, the last column says order amount, right? Well, I can add a new formula right from here. So I'm going to right-click where it says orders for on the right, right-click, and then let's pick on the word new column. That means it's going to be a calculated column. And then you would type in the formula up here. So where it says column equals, I want you to hit your backspace key to get rid of that. Type in the word days. The column name is going to be called days. Type in the equal sign. It will start to help you as you start to type it in. So type in the letter S, and it'll kind of give you some help here. So let's double click on ship date, and that put that in the formula. Type in the minus sign, and then type in O, and then we'll use, if we scroll down a little bit, double click on order date. So it should say days equals orders for ship date minus orders for order date. And of course, this could have its own functions, and we can go a lot further with this. This is really the DAX language. When you're done with that formula, go ahead and pick on the check mark over here. And this will have a new column that's called days. Okay. Now, of course, we're going to format that. So go ahead and right-click where it says days, and let's see. Oh, pick on column tools up here. Oh, this is where we can format, like somebody said before. So I'll pick on column tools, pick on the pull down for the format, and I just want to have that in a number format. We probably have to change the data type there. So pick on this, the data type, and I'll make it a whole number. And then click on OK. And that should make it look a lot better.
I'm sorry, I typed the formula, and then what was I supposed to do?
Yes, so after you type in the formula, you're going to click on this little check mark over here. And then you should have the days column over on the right-hand side. Do you have that now?
Yes, I do.
And then we picked in the word days there. And now when you pick in the word days, you'll get this tab that says column tools up at the top. And then I changed it into a whole number. So like somebody said, we can format the field once we're on this screen instead of doing it in the Power Query using the column tools menu. Okay? And now it should be a whole number over there where it says days. So everybody, you right-click on the table name. See how it says new measure or new column. Now, both of those you have to type them in, but I'm going to have some examples for you instead of typing them in. Whereas the new quick measure will be a tool where we can build the measures without knowing the code. But both the new measure and the new column use the DAX language. The difference is the column, you can see it actually showed up as a field on the table that we can view. You won't be able to see the measure until you add it into a visual, and you'll see what I mean by that. Go ahead and save our work here. Now, when you do it in real life, you probably have to type in the formulas. However, I have a lot of formulas already made for you. So let's go way back into our Excel spreadsheet that came with the class. So I'm going to minimize Power BI for a second. Let's go back into Excel. And then once you're in Excel, let's go back into our student file that you downloaded at the beginning. Okay, mine's coming up. Okay, good. I'm going to go back into the student file. Once you're in the student file, really, we're going to go to a different sheet. So I'm going to right-click on this arrow, right-click, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the sheets, and then pick on a sheet that's called Power BI, Power Pivot Formulas. Power BI, Power Pivot Formulas, and click on OK. Good. I have a lot of these already prepared for you, so we can just copy and paste them instead of having to make this into a typing class. All right. So now this one is going to use a function that's called related. So the Power BI DAX language has its own functions as well. Related means it's going to grab a field from a table that is related. So this is almost like a VLOOKUP in normal Excel. So you can see where I am on this Excel spreadsheet. I'm on cell E4. And then just right click on there and then pick on copy. And here's the way I have this laid out. It tells you which table is going to be used, whether it's a new column or a new measure. The page over here refers to the page that might be in the actual manual. And then here's the formula. So I'm going to right click on cell E4 and then pick on copy. And this is going to go into the orders table. Watch what we'll do. Go back into Power BI, please. Okay. Come over here to the right. I'm going to right click on the orders table, or it says orders for. And we'll do a new column. Excuse me. Excuse me. In real life, you have to type that in, right? Well, I don't want to make this into a typing class. So I'm going to right click where it says column. Well, I'll just do Control V for paste. Control V. Good. So here's what it should say. The new field is going to be called company name. Related means it's going to grab a field from the customers table, and the field it's going to grab is company name. Go ahead and pick on that check mark right there. And now the company name from the customers table came into the orders table. So to reuse the related function, those two tables have to be joined together using those relationships. So that's almost like a VLOOKUP that you might see in Excel. So now we're just going to go back and forth from the Excel spreadsheet back into here and start adding some of these columns. So I'm going to go back into Excel now. So this one will also be on the orders table. Now I'm in cell E5, and we're going to copy that. So I'm going to right click on E5 and pick on copy. This is going to go into the orders table. Go back into Power BI. So watch again. Right click where it says orders for. Pick on new column. Normally you would have to type these in real life, but I have these prepared for you. So just do Control V. Okay. So the column is going to be called shipper's name, and we're going to get the company name field from the shipper's table. Again, it's using that related function. Go ahead and pick on the check mark. And now we'll see we have a new column that's called shipper name. So now I can just use the shipper name from the orders table instead of having to go over to the shippers table. That's the purpose of that related function. All right. And then, you know, I'm trying to show you some examples of the DAX language at the same time without you having to type these in. Let's do a few more of these. Go back into Excel. Okay. So then the next two are kind of the same kind of thing. Here I'm getting the company name from the suppliers table and putting it into the products table. And we're getting the category name from the categories table and put it into the products table. So those are using the related function. So, you know, we've done those already. Now earlier I showed you a different way to do the age. This is kind of similar to where you would do the age in normal Excel, right? It's kind of a complicated formula. I showed you a better way to do the age and the years of service using the Power Query. So we can kind of skip those ones. And then we did the line total for the order details. We did that one already. We did the days already. Where's the one I want to use? Okay, go to cell E15, please. This is a pretty good one. Now, in the DAX formula, if you see the word calculate, it means it's going to do a filter of some kind. It's going to filter the data. So this will show you the number of lines that each order has. It's going to show all of the records and order details that have that same order ID. So whenever you see the word calculate, it means it's going to do a filter. I want you to go to cell E15, right click on that one, and then pick on copy. And let's go back into Power BI. This is going to go in the orders table. So right click on the orders table, pick on new column. We'll get to those new measures and new quicker measures pretty soon. Let's paste it in. Let's do Control V. Okay. So the field name is going to be called number of line items, and we're counting the number of order details that has the same order ID as the order ID that's on the current record. Go ahead and click on the check mark. And then you'll have a new column over here on the right that's called number of line items for each order. Let's go back into these examples. So you can see how everybody, if you right click on one of your tables, I can right click on any of those tables. We did a couple examples of the new columns. So remember, let's go back to the data view over here, data. The new columns will actually display in the table itself. And you can use those like any other fields. Oh, here's a pretty good one. The first order date and the last order date. So let's do another visual. I want to show the first time that each customer actually made an order and the last time. So this is actually going to be one of those new columns. And then in the Excel spreadsheet, go to cell E27 because we're going to copy this one. Go to E27 and copy it. And it's going to go into the customers table. This is a good example. It'll show the first time that each customer made an order. So go back into Power BI. Let's make another visual. So this time we'll do it by company name. No, we don't have to. It's a column. So pick on the data tab over here on the left. Now come over here to the right and pick on the customers table. And we see the customers, right? We're going to add one of those new columns. So right click where it says customer 6. Do a new column. This time we're going to paste that formula in. So I'll do Control V to paste it in. Let's see what it says. The name of the field will be called first order. So this is a DAX function. First date will give us the first date from the orders table. Go ahead for each different customer. Go ahead and pick on the check mark. Now remember how those new columns will show up right on the table. And now I have the first time each customer made an order. That was a pretty good example of using the DAX language. All right, so we have the first date function. On the other hand, some of these in the Excel spreadsheet say the word new measure. A new measure will only be displayed if you move that field onto a visual. but it does still use it still uses the DAX language. So back to Excel, go to cell E16, please. Here's using that calculate, which means it's going to be a filter. This is going to give us the sum of all the orders whose ship country equals France. Okay, so I'm going to right click on cell E16 and pick on copy. Let's go back into the Power BI. Okay, once again, I want to use the orders table. The orders table will probably be used for the rest of our examples, actually, now that I think about it. Notice right now the last field is called number of line items. That's the calculated field that we just added in there. Right click where it says orders for. This time do a new measure. And you'll see a similar type of window there, right? Even with these, in normal life, in regular life, you have to type those in, but we're going to paste it in now. So do Control V. Okay. So the field name will be called order amount for France. Then you can see how it's using the calculate function. And this means just get the ones where the ship country equals France. Go ahead and pick in the check mark. Now, if I scroll to the right, notice how that field is not in the table. The measures will only show up when you add them onto a visual. So let's try it. Go back to our reports over here. That was the key influencers. Go back to page 4. Go back to page 3. Okay, this one. So let's see. I don't need that first visual anymore. So I don't need the one that was called the table. Click on that one and then delete that one, please. Let's work with this one. So I'm just going to move this one over here. Everybody, I'm going to remove that country. So let's get rid of the ship country from the columns over here on the right. And now I just have the full order amount for each different shipper. Well, let's see the order amount for France. So look at my screen. Come over to the right. Scroll down a little bit. Okay. Notice how you have another calculation that's called order amount. But the one with the calculator is the fields that we made. It's going to be those measures. So if I move my mouse here, it says the order amount for France. Oh, by the way, I didn't show you this one yet. I can move my fields into this section over here. You can also drag your fields directly into the visual. So pick up the second order amount, the order amount for France, and drag it into the visual over here. It should be a much less number. So this is all of the orders, and this is the orders from France. So the measures are kind of like cumulative totals, okay? And I'll show you a couple examples of these measures. Now that one, I had to right click on that table and we did a new measure. We had to type it in, right? Well, when we do a new quick measure, it'll be a more visual way to do the same kind of thing. So if you're not comfortable with that code, quite frankly, I think the DAX language is not that easy to learn. I mean, I've been programming for a long, long time, and I think that language is a little bit obtuse there. However, let me show you a way around it. We'll do a new quick measure. I want you to right click on the orders table over here on the right, and then pick on new quick measure. This will give you a more visual way to make it. Okay, so we'll do a few of these. Click on the pull down where it says select a calculation, and you have a lot of ones that are built right in. Aggregates, filters, we'll do some of these. Running total is in there. So let's go up to where it says filtered value. It's kind of what we just did. We filtered it for the ones from France. So pick on filtered value, please. Okay. The base value, when we use this window, is always going to be some kind of number. So now use these over here. So pick on orders for, pick on the original order amount. Here's the original order amount and drag it into the fields. Good. Whereas this base value. It does say a sum, but you can change it to other calculations if you wanted to. But we'll keep it at sum. Now watch me. Scroll down a little bit and pick up ship country. Add ship country to where it says add data fields here for the filter. And then it'll give you the different values for that country. Let's pick on Germany. And then click on OK. So instead of typing in the code, we just did it as a quick measure. Now I want to show you something. Move your mouse over here to the right and find the order amount. When you move your mouse there, it'll say order amount for Germany. It looks like it's the one that's on right now. And then look, it'll show you the actual code for that. So if you really want to learn the DAX language, it's not a bad way to do it. You can make a quick measure, and then it'll give you the actual DAX language up there, as you can see. But let's see what the order amount for Germany looks like. Pick up the order amount for Germany and drag it into the visual again. And now look, I have the full order amount, the order amount for France, and the order amount for Germany. Okay? So perhaps the quick measures are the way to go until you really get a grasp of that language. The book has some of the examples of the language. I'm going to show you some here in the class today. You can always find some more on the internet, with Google and everything else. Let's do another quick measure. I like to see the difference between the full order amount minus the France amount. So this one's going to be built right in. I'm going to right click where it says orders for over on the right. That's the table, right? Let's do another new quick measure. And you're back to this window. Click in the pull down where it says select a calculation. This time we'll do a difference from a filtered value. That means take the filtered value and subtract it from the full amount. Say difference from the filtered value. Good. The base value is always going to be some kind of number. So pick on orders for, pick on the normal order amount, right? Pick up order amount and drag it into the base value right there. Good. For the filter, once again, I'll use the ship country. Pick up ship country and drag it into where it says add data fields for the filter. And then once again, we'll click on that pull down and we'll pick on France. Go ahead and click on OK. And then it's going to add another field over here. So it might be better to give those better names when you do it in real life, I could always right click on a field and then rename it, should we need to. But if you move your mouse across these, it's going to be this one. It says order amount difference from France. I'm going to pick it up and drag it right into the visual. Let's see if the math works out. So 407 minus the 29 is going to give us the 377. That's the math. 373 minus the 22 will give us the 351. Right? So yes, you can take the time to learn the DAX language, but you might be better off by using these quick measures. All right, let's go ahead and save our work here. Let's do some more of these formulas. Now, let's clean up this visual a little bit. So come over here to the right where all the fields are. So I want to remove the order amount for France. I'm just going to click on this X. Click on the X for the order amount for Germany, and click on the amount for the order amount difference. I just want the regular order amount there. That's perfect. Okay, good. Another great measure that we can add into here is the running total. This will be another quick measure, so watch. Go ahead and right click where it says orders for again, and then do another quick measure. Remember the other two, you really have to know the code and type it in. So let's see. Click in the pull down where it says select a calculation. Now, if you scroll down a bunch, we see one that's called a running total. A lot of people like to see the running total. Good. Remember, for the base value, you're always going to use some kind of number. So I'm going to expand the orders for, get the normal order amount, drag the normal order amount into the base value right there. Now for this one, everybody, you have to base it on one of your visuals. So if this visual is based on the company name from the shippers table, then I have to use that same field here. So watch. Over here, I'm going to scroll down so you can see the shippers table. There's the shippers table. And we'll use the company name. I want to get that same field that's on that visual. So pick up company name and drag it into where it says add data fields here for the field. And then if that visual is in ascending order, then this is going to be in ascending order as well. Then I can move that field directly into that visual and get the running total. So this one is a little bit more particular. You have to kind of base it on the field that might be on the visual. So I have the sum of the order amount. I'm using the company name because I'm using company name over here. And then ascending is the order of this report. Go ahead and click on OK. And let's see what that one looks like. It added another field over here. So then, I really should get those better names, but I think it's going to be that last one, this one over here. You can see how it says order amount running total. So go ahead and pick that up and drag it into the visual. Let's see if the math is right. 407. 407 plus 373 is going to be the 781, right? 781 plus the 572 will give us 1.35 million. So you can see now we have the running total. That's when that actually gets used a lot. That was just one of those new quick measures. Where do you see the code for that one? So if you move your mouse back to that order amount, the running total, and click on it, then it'll actually show you the code. I think this language is kind of obtuse. It's not that easy to pick up, but notice how it uses that calculate, and then, you can see the formula. So this is not a bad way to learn the language. You can find more examples either in the book or in that Excel file, or even on the internet, of course. In fact, let's go back to the Excel file. Let me see if there's some that I really want to go over. So we did the quick measures here. We did the difference. We did the running total. Let's see. Oh, here's a really good one. The year-over-year change. So I want to see how much it changes year by year. This is one that people ask for all the time. So let's make it happen. Go back into Power BI now. Let's change this report a little bit. So I want this report to reflect year by year. Go ahead and click on that visual. Now, I don't need that running total anymore. It was just an example, right? So notice where my mouse is. I'm going to hit the X for the running total. Because this is that matrix, I can add the columns in. So let's do it by order date. Come over here to the right, find order date, and move order date into the fields for the columns. And then see how it broke it down by year, right? So now, for this one, you could even drill down to the quarter or the month or the day, but I want to remove those because they're kind of getting away for our example. So click on this X for the day and for the month and for the quarter. So if they were still there, you could drill down to the quarter or the month or the day, but I just want the word year there. And then we can see each shipper year by year. Well, I'd like to see the percent of change year by year. That's going to be another quick measure. Watch my screen. Right-click on Orders For, and then do another quick measure, new quick measure. Good. Pick on the pull-down where it says Select a Calculation. Okay. Scroll down, and there's a category that's called Time Intelligence. You could do the year-to-date total, which is something people always ask for, the quarter-to-date, the month-to-date. Here's one that I want to use, the year-over-year change. Pick on that one, please. Again, the visual will be based on the fields that are on that visual. So let's see. We'll use the order amount. So I'll pick up the order amount from the orders table and drag it into the base value. And then this date field will be the same date field that's on the visual, which is going to be the order date. After a while, you get to know your data. I've been using this data for a long, long time. So I'll pick on order date and drag it into the date field right over here. Good. Now the number of periods, if we just have it by one, it'll be year by year. If I want to compare it to 5 years ago, then I would make it 5. But usually you just leave that at 1. Okay? So I have sum of the order amount, order date, number of periods, 1. I'm going to click on OK. And then it added another field over here. So after a while, you want to give these better names. But let's see which one it's going to be. It's going to be this one. It says order amount Y over Y %. Of course, you can drag it right over here, but I'm just going to drag it into the visual. So pick up that order amount and drag it right into the visual. Let's see what happened. Okay, 1998 was 67,000. 1999 was 206,000. That's a 206% increase. Okay, good. 1999 was 206,000. The year 2000 was 134,000, and that's a 34% decrease. So that was a pretty good quick visual. That was a year-over-year change. Okay,